What do Antarctica and Australia have in common? Both rank among the driest continents on Earth. Antarctica takes the top spot, but Australia isn't far behind. In fact, since it's the driest inhabited continent, many would argue Australia deserves first place. While there's no official list ranking the most barren lands by area, Australia would almost certainly earn a top position. The continent's soil is a nightmare for farmers, dry, nutrient-poor, and unforgiving. Finding even a small patch of fertile land often feels like a treasure hunt. Despite these challenges, Australia continues to produce some of the world's most vital crops, like rice. And here's where things get interesting. Scattered throughout Australian rice fields, you'll find creatures with names like Cherax quadricarinatus. No, they're not some futuristic farming robot or mystical spell, they're crayfish. And Australians are releasing them by the millions right into rice fields. But why? To understand that, take a look at a map of Australia. You'll notice a vast, dark mass dominating the center, desert land. While it's not identical to the Sahara, it's no less difficult when it comes to agriculture. Much of the country suffers from severe water shortages. Only relatively small strips along the coast are suited for farming. The rest is an ongoing challenge. Most of Australia receives less than 24 inches of rainfall per year, and in the central regions, some areas get as little as 2 inches. The national average hovers around 16 inches, far below the global average of 37 inches. This shortage has real consequences. One of the most glaring examples is the Murray-Darling Basin, Australia's largest river system, which has experienced several major droughts, most notably the Millennium Drought from 1997 to 2009. In 2006, rainfall in the basin dropped 40 to 60% below normal, marking the lowest levels recorded since 1900. Only 4 inches fell instead of the usual 15. At its worst, the river system's flow dropped to just 40% of its typical volume, leaving rivers and lakes critically low. Lake Menindee, part of the basin, nearly vanished during peak drought, transforming from a vast body of water into a dusty crater. Similar things happen with Lake Torrens, a salt lake in South Australia, which depends entirely on rare rainfall to exist at all. Rice, being a water-intensive crop, is particularly vulnerable. Fields sometimes dry up completely due to yet another water shortage. But the problem goes beyond water. Australia's soil has been left to weather for millions of years without much geological activity, like volcanic eruptions, which normally replenish nutrients. The result? Extremely infertile land. Phosphorus is especially scarce, and that's a big deal. Without it, plants can't generate the energy needed to grow, resulting in stunted or failed crops. Some Australian plants, like Banksias, have evolved special roots that release organic acids to extract phosphorus from the soil, something most crops can't do. This shows just how long the soil has been nutrient deficient. Other essential elements, zinc, potassium, sulfur, copper, and boron, are also in short supply. Adding to the issue, Australia's dry, hot climate slows down the natural decomposition of leaves and other organic material. That limits the buildup of humus, which is vital for healthy soil. Without it, the soil has poor structure, low water retention, and low fertility. In many agricultural zones, organic carbon levels sit below 1 or 2%, while 3 to 6% is needed for stable fertility. Now imagine trying to grow rice in this environment. During the tinderbox drought from 2017 to 2019, irrigated rice production dropped by over 90% in southeastern Australia. In just 2 seasons, farmers suffered massive financial losses. That's where Cherax quadricarinatus and other crayfish species enter the story, not just as residents, but as workers. These clawed helpers aren't thrown into the fields haphazardly. Farmers start by digging trenches around the rice fields using shovels or machinery. The trench size depends on the crayfish species and field conditions. These trenches are filled with water, and young crayfish are introduced. Afterward, rice is planted. Eventually, the entire field is flooded, connecting the paddies to the trenches and creating a perfect environment for the crayfish. Despite their tough appearance, crayfish are vulnerable to predators in the wild. The trenches give them a safe place to hide, build burrows, and lay eggs. Plus, the water in the trenches ensures they don't dry out. But what about the rice? Do crayfish destroy it? Fortunately, rice isn't on their menu. Instead, they feed on algae, insects, and other organic debris found in the field. Rice paddies are a buffet of fallen plant matter and invertebrates, perfect for crayfish. They eat, sleep, breed, and repeat, all while helping humans. Let's start with their burrows. These can reach depths of 12 inches and form a network that increases soil porosity by 12 to 18% depending on conditions. That means better water absorption, less surface evaporation, and more efficient use of limited water resources. Their digging also improves soil aeration, which is crucial for plant roots and beneficial soil microbes. In the flooded and oxygen-poor environment of a rice paddy, better aeration means healthier, stronger plants. But it doesn't stop there. Crayfish, after eating all that organic material, produce waste rich in phosphorus, nitrogen, and other nutrients, exactly what Australian soils are missing. Even better, the phosphorus in crayfish waste comes in a form that plants can absorb more easily. Scientific studies back this up. In rice fields using the rice-crayfish model, nitrogen content rose by 8.5 to 28.4% and phosphorus by 8.2 to 30.5% in the top 4 inches of soil. That means stronger shoots, better growth, and healthier crops. Crayfish even give the microbial life in the soil a boost. Enzyme activity, like urease and phosphatase, can increase by up to 71%. These enzymes break down nitrogen and phosphorus compounds into forms plants can absorb. The result? A stronger root system and up to 15% more above-ground plant growth in just the first season. And there's another upside. Australia spends heavily on synthetic fertilizers, which are both expensive and harmful to the environment. Crayfish create a natural, cost-free alternative. They also help control weeds and pests, reducing the need for herbicides and pesticides. These chemicals can damage the ecosystem, so replacing them with biological solutions improves both plant and human health. Crayfish don't just make farming more sustainable, they also make it more profitable. Let's say you have 2 rice fields. One uses traditional farming, the other uses the rice-crayfish model. A drought hits or rice prices fall. The traditional farmer takes a heavy loss. But the farmer using crayfish has a second crop, crayfish, that can be harvested and sold, softening the financial blow. Even when conditions are good, the rice-crayfish model brings in more income. In China's Hubei province, where this method is popular, a 2.5-acre rice-only field nets around $3,000. Add crayfish, and the same field earns over $8,000. Nearly triple the profit, with no added feed or fertilizer costs. In Australia, economic data is limited, but signs are promising. Live yabbies, local crayfish, can sell for $20 to $30 per 2 pounds wholesale. Demand is strong, and integrated farming could soon dominate the country's rice production. But crayfish aren't the only animals pitching in. In Western Australia's Great Southern region, Afrasia Hill Winery turned to birds, specifically Indian runner ducks and Muscovy ducks, for help controlling snails in their vineyards. Snails, which attack grapevines in the spring, are typically dealt with using chemical baits. But the winery took a natural approach. They released ducks into a test area, and the results were remarkable. Within a 100-foot radius, snails disappeared. In untreated areas, they had to keep using chemicals. The plan now is to raise the flock to 200 ducks to protect 25 acres of vineyard. Why not use chickens? Because chickens eat grapes. Ducks, on the other hand, prefer snails and grass, making them the perfect vineyard companions. Meanwhile, on the ground, goats are taking care of weeds. In Australia, invasive weeds cause millions of dollars in damage annually. Herbicides and manual weeding are costly and hard to implement on steep or remote land. One goat can eat around 20 pounds of weeds per day. Blackberry, broom, thistle, they love it all. Their nimble lips help them navigate thorny plants, and a herd of a dozen goats can clear an area the size of a 1-car garage in a day. In New South Wales, one farm has nearly eliminated herbicides by releasing 20 goats into weed-infested zones. The result, treatment costs down by 70% and improved pasture health, all in just one season. The goat solution became so popular, a rental service emerged. Farmers or even school gardens can now order mobile electric pens full of goats. Once the goats finish the job, they move to the next location. It's cheaper, more effective, and completely natural. And just like crayfish, goats produce nutrient-rich waste that boosts soil fertility. Unlike cows, goats eat the weeds and leave the good grass alone. Their waste is packed with nitrogen and phosphorus, natural fertilizer for depleted soils. Goats have even helped on major infrastructure projects. At a Sydney Metro site, 570 workers produced over 150,000 concrete segments for a 15-mile track. But they had help. 20 goats were brought in to clear weeds. The result? Less noise, lower emissions, and no pesticides needed. In the end, all these examples, from crayfish to ducks to goats, show that nature already has the answers to many of Australia's toughest farming challenges. These eco-friendly, cost-effective solutions reduce chemical use, improve soil health, and help maintain balance in the ecosystem. In other words, they're not just helpers, they're heroes.